you doing, guys? Welcome back to Coffee and Juice. This is where I casually will sip my coffee and speak about anabolics, TRT, TRT plus, and anything in the world of self-improvement. I've been a professional patient for the last 20 years, and I'm touching 50 years of age. So what we're going to talk about today is that it's 2023. Is there anything new under the sun regarding ED drugs, et cetera, et cetera? Or so now you might want to listen in, because what you want to achieve, hopefully at the end of this conversation, is that number one, your wife doesn't leave you. And number two, maybe you want to do circus tricks and you can hang 5 wet towels on your penile member. Either way, stick around and let's try to learn something. It's 2023. Let's take a fresh look at what we got out there. So this information is going to be pertinent to about 95% of the male population. Unless you're an asexual hermit, you probably are going to tune off right now and look at something else, some other type of content, maybe anime, et cetera, et cetera. So now when it comes to these particular compounds, the way you could look at them is that you can delineate them into two worlds. It's either indicated clinically if you have erectile dysfunction. That's where you're probably here. You're having some issues. And then you have something called pulmonary arterial hypertension. And that's another reason why they administer this drug. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the dosages that you can maybe negotiate or manage and what's going to make sense and what's going to be the safest. Because remember, I always err on the side of caution, and I'm a safe guy. All right. So now when we talk about sildenafil, which I like to call a smurf, all right, in the local circles, is that 25 milligrams to 100 milligrams at the top end of the range is what you could administer for yourself. This is clinical data. This isn't some bro science, but this is what the clinical data is saying. So now if we go to something called the tadalafil, or I like to call it a pumpkin, is that we got anywhere from 5 milligrams to 20 mgs before intercourse. Now, these are indicated for ED, and the indication usually on the label or your prescription, it's going to be before intercourse. This is when you're going to take it. And it's probably usually indicated at an hour before, and also the clinical data will cross-correlate that. So now there's something called sildenafil. Now, I never used it. I'm sure it's somehow in the same world, same type of compound. Now, keep in mind, just as an aside, some of them may work for you, and some of them may not. And some of them may give you terrible side effects, and we'll talk about that in another video. So once again, a lot of things, and I don't recommend this because I'm not a doctor, is that a lot of the compounds that you will use in general is a trial and error, titration, and also if you can handle the effects of the drug. All right, so with that being said, that's going to be the dosage for erectile dysfunction. In short, a cursory glance, but it's an overview of this paper that I found a little interesting, and maybe you will too, because obviously at this point you can't hang 5 wet towels on your penile member, so that's why you click the thumbnail. So now I spoke about pulmonary arterial hypertension, and why this is interesting to maybe you, even though you may not have it, is that you're going to see that they administer dosages that are a lot higher. And what I mean by that is sildenafil, or I like to call it a smurf, is 20 mgs 3 times a day. So I'll do some quick math for you. So that's 60 milligrams a day on that particular drug. So what that leads us to believe is that whenever you read on a prescription, do not exceed certain amount or do not exceed, so on and so forth. I'm not advising you to do this, but if you're having one of these benders that you probably go on and you're hypersexual from all the androgens you're pumping, just keep that in mind, that that's possibly a dose that they're advising that you can take. Obviously, I'm not advising. Once again, this is for educational entertainment purposes only. So now you have tadalafil, which I like to call daffodil, or I call it a pumpkin, and you could take this 40 milligrams once a day. So now that you have a quick overview of the dosages and you want to manage your medication, I always will tell you that you should start small, and then if something's not working, you increase. And I do not advise you, if you only have erectile dysfunction, you should not be looking to crank 60 milligrams of the smurfs and 40 mgs of the pumpkins. All right. So once again, the lexicon of my nonsense is going to be that when it comes to these PDE5 inhibitors. All right. So just keep that in mind. I hope you got something out of it. And once again, if you're going to venture into this world, they do have side effects. But, once again, you're trying to balance your lifestyle and overall self-improvement. So coffee and juice, hopefully you stay hard. All right.